Okay, so picture this, your favorite outfit, right? But it only exists online. Wait. And those jeans you love, well, they're made from like recycled ocean plastic.
Whoa.
Yeah. Today we're taking a deep dive into the future of fashion.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty interesting. Technology and sustainability are
Yeah.
totally changing how we think about clothes and the industry as a whole. And get this, fashion is responsible for a crazy amount, like 10% of global carbon emissions every single year.
Wow,
Yeah,
10%.
it's massive. So we're talking about a huge impact on the planet, right? And this deep dive, well, it matters for everyone, not just the fashionistas out there. We're going to explore some really wild innovations, some cool cultural shifts, and we'll also look at some of the challenges ahead. Like, are there downsides to all this? What do you think?
I think you're right. We've got a lot to unpack here. Fashion, it's always been about change and keeping up with the times, but this feels different. Like it's not just about the next trend. It's a whole new way of thinking about clothes.
Exactly. And the tech side of things, I mean, it's blowing my mind. We've got AI, artificial intelligence, designing clothes now.
Really?
Yeah, brands like Stitch Fix, they're using these crazy algorithms to not only, predict what's going to be hot, but to actually suggest clothes you'd love based on, your taste, your style, your preferences.
Like a personalized AI stylist.
Right. Pretty cool. But it
Yeah.
also makes you wonder, could AI learn to consider ethical values when it's picking out your next outfit? Like, would it know to recommend sustainable brands?
Hmm. That's a really interesting question. I mean, AI, it can definitely be trained to prioritize sustainable brands or
Mhm.
eco-friendly materials based on, what you tell it you care about. But the real challenge I see is teaching it creativity, and that genuine human touch, that self-expression that fashion is all about.
Totally. Like, how do you program that?
Yeah.
And speaking of digital stuff, our digital selves are about to get way more fashionable. Like, have you heard about Balenciaga? They're making digital outfits for, get this, Fortnite players.
No way. Balenciaga in Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean that's high fashion colliding with gaming, right?
Wow, talk about a culture clash. But I think it shows us something, doesn't it? Digital spaces, they're becoming like real extensions of who we are, of how we express ourselves, and fashion's got to keep up.
It's like fashion's going virtual. But then that makes you think about, well, what about all the physical clothes we're making? What's the environmental impact of all that?
That's the big question, and it's why sustainability is it's no longer just a niche thing, a trend. It's like a core value now, and it all starts with the materials we're using, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing so many cool new fabrics and materials popping up, like recycled polyester, organic
Mhm.
cotton. I even heard about like mushroom leather.
Yeah, it's called Milo.
Milo. Okay. So we're changing what our clothes are made of, right?
Right, but it's got to be more than just swapping materials. To truly make fashion sustainable, we need to think differently about the whole system, the whole life cycle of clothing.
So are you talking about circular fashion? I've heard that term, but
Oh.
don't really know what it means.
Yeah, circular fashion. Think of it as closing the loop, Instead of that old take, make, dispose model, which is how we've done things for like forever, circular fashion, it pushes brands to think about resale, like using platforms like ThreadUp or offering repair services. Patagonia's Worn Wear program, that's a good example. They actually encourage you to repair your old Patagonia gear instead of just, chucking it.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's about like keeping our clothes in use longer, minimizing waste. But isn't that kind of like the opposite of fast fashion? How do we shift away from that?
Yeah, you're right. It's a massive shift, and it requires everybody, brands, designers, consumers, to really rethink how they see fashion. And it's not just about the planet; it's about people too. Ethical manufacturing, that's a big part of it. Making sure workers are paid fairly, that they're working in safe conditions.
For sure. And there seems to be a lot more focus on transparency now, like knowing where our clothes come from, how they're made.
Absolutely. And there are platforms that help with that. Good on You, for example. They rate brands on their ethical and sustainability practices so consumers can make more informed choices. But, and this is a big but, we also have to watch out for greenwashing.
Greenwashing?
Yeah, it's when brands they try to jump on the sustainability bandwagon without actually changing how they do things.
Gotcha. So like all talk, no action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, as consumers, we've got to be like detectives, right? We got to look beyond the slogans and the marketing and really see what a company is doing.
Right. Like, is it real or is it just
Right.
PR? And what about social media's role in all this? It's like TikTok, Instagram, they can make a trend explode overnight.
It's true. And they can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, they fuel fast fashion, trends come and go so quickly. But on the other hand, you see these cool movements like thrift hauls on TikTok where people show off their secondhand finds.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those. It's like thrifting is cool now.
Exactly. And it's making sustainable shopping, aspirational, trendy.
And some influencers are
Yeah.
even like wearing digital outfits now, which, I mean, that's wild, right? It's blurring the lines between the real and the virtual. Do you think that's just a fad? Or could it actually help us consume less?
That's a good question. Imagine, right, having a digital wardrobe, endless outfits without any of the physical stuff, the waste.
Right.
Digital fashion, it could be huge for self-expression and maybe it could lead to more mindful consumption.
Maybe, but it does make you think about, well, what about access, right? Not everyone can afford the latest tech or
Yeah.
has, reliable internet access.
That's an important point. We need to make sure this future of fashion, whatever it looks like, is inclusive, that it's
Yeah,
available to everyone.
absolutely. And that brings up another issue, the cost. I mean,
Yeah.
sustainable and ethical fashion, it's often more expensive. How do we make it more accessible?
Well, we need to find ways to scale up the production of these alternative materials, make them more affordable, and we need policies that encourage sustainable practices across the whole industry.
It really feels like we're at this turning point. Technology, sustainability, it's all pushing fashion in a new direction.
Mhm.
And there are getting challenges along the way. But it also feels like there's a real desire for change. Like people are waking up to the need for a more ethical and sustainable fashion industry,
Yeah, I agree. Consumers are they're demanding transparency, and brands are starting to listen.
right? They have to. It's like a dialogue, an ongoing conversation. And ultimately it's all of us who get to shape the future of fashion.
I like that.
So what are you most excited about when you think about like the future of fashion? What kind of impact do you hope to see? And for our listeners out there, what's resonating with you? Would you wear digital clothing? Are you choosing sustainable brands? We've only just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to explore. Check out the show notes for some links and resources we talked about, and let's keep the conversation going.
Definitely. It's a fascinating topic.
It is for sure. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.